Hi, darling. Welcome back. Something that I have noticed in South Africa is the fact that individual self expression, like expressing yourself differently through your clothing, can be a huge trigger to a lot of people, especially on social media where there is no filtering of thoughts. People can say whatever they want. One thing that I've noticed a pattern is that in South Africa, when you dress differently, alternatively from the norm, you are seen as mentally unstable, possessed, or even to some people, dangerous. It surprises me, honestly, the amount of vitriol that I saw on social media when two gothic South African girls posted a video. And honestly, their outfits might not be something that you like, but the comments were ridiculous. A lot of the people were saying that they need Jesus, they need to repent, which the assumption is that these young ladies are in some kind of possession or some kind of evil possession. It frustrates me because we have so much energy for people who express themselves differently through clothing, but we don't have the same energy, we don't have the same vitriol for the actual things that are horrible and happening in our country. I'm very aware that people don't care about politics. A lot of people don't care about actually what is happening in our country. We have so much evils that are happening in our country, like corrupt politicians stealing hospital money, which means that there are people who potentially passed on because of that type of negligence. We have more energy in policing how people express themselves than the energy we have for the missing children in South Africa, for victims of sexual violence, whether male or female. There are certain people in our families that are protected even though they are known abusers. There are people in our families that we know that you shouldn't leave this person around young children. There's crime. There's people in marriages who are cheating left, right, and center, having work husbands, work wives. I've noticed that the fact that two of these young ladies were dressed differently got a lot of hate, a lot of anger, a lot of accusations of evil towards these young ladies. I find it very confusing. Confusing because don't we have actually more pressing issues to worry about than how people choose to express themselves artistically? I'm one individual who appreciates art. I appreciate creativity, and art could be the way we dress, the music we listen to, the movies we watch. Art is some of the things that allow us to escape our daily lives, the daily toxicity of real life. And when I see people expressing themselves differently, I love it. It might not be a fashion style that I would wear, but I do have an appreciation for individual self expression. And individual self expression, artistic or creative expression in South Africa, sometimes, especially on social media, is seen as a negative thing. People want you to look like everyone else. People are uncomfortable with certain aesthetics. What I want to do in this video, we will break down the nuance of this conversation. But before I do that, I want us to watch a few videos of individuals in South Africa sharing their opinions on individuality in South Africa, on authenticity, on individual style and self-expression. And then I will unpack this conversation and the complexity in this discussion.
I love individuality. I love people being able to express themselves however way they will. Someone in the comments was trying to spoil everything and said, "Let me remind you, this is South Africa, not America." And someone said so, and they got ratioed to oblivion. Let me tell you guys something. Those people don't matter anymore, okay? Most South Africans are tired of just having to conform to this idea that if you do certain things, that means you're not South African. You know, like at some point, if you were speaking English too much, people would say you're not South African. It's almost like you have to prove to them every second of the day that you're South African. Yeah, but no, you don't. You are South African. You just are. That is in your DNA. Having hobbies, having things that are just of the world doesn't make you less South African, you know? And this idea is falling apart completely now because the kids don't care about fucking proving to anyone that they're South African. They do what they want. They make the music they want. They dress the way they want. They act the way they want. They don't care anymore. And the old people that are like, you have to be South African, they're dying out. So sooner or later, the kids are going to shape up the culture to what they want it to be. Individuality and freedom of expression. And that doesn't make you less South African, right? I want to be South African. I am South African. I love it to death. This is my country. But you're not going to shame me if I decide that I want to make rap music or listen to rap music. Oh, you're less South African just because you speak. You know what I mean? So 120,000 likes on that post just proves that a lot of people are craving individuality in this country. Merry Christmas.
You guys have no idea how excited I get when I see an alternative person out in the wild. You have no idea how excited I get. I think I did say this a few days ago. I think they are the coolest people ever because I don't get to see that many alternative people in South Africa. Like, I don't see a lot of them. I think it's because of, like, one is because of where I live, and two is because I'm in South Africa. Like, I know they do exist. I know that they do exist, but it's just such a rare occurrence. So whenever I do see like an alternative person out in the wild, I get so excited, and I make it my mission to go out of my way and go and tell them that I think they're so cool and I love their outfit, and I make sure to always ask them, oh, where'd you get this from? And they'll tell me they thrifted it. I'm like And I say that the reason I love alternative people and I love people that dress alternative or like out of the norm is because I think alternative fashion and just being alternative is peak individuality. It's peak individuality because I do believe that individuality is dead. It is dead. Especially in South Africa, I think we all dress the same. I think to a certain extent we all like look the same. We do our makeup the same, and I'm saying we because I am not above that. Like I do fall into that category of like molding myself to fit the status quo, right? Not that I'm necessarily unhappy, but it's just what I'm saying is that that's why I love to see alternative people so much, and I get so happy when I see alternative spaces growing and thriving, no matter where it is in the country or no matter what like subcategory of alternative it is, because it's something that's so special. It's something that's so special to me. I love to see it.
And you see it in how people comment on Nadia Tojal's videos. So she's a fashion designer and she makes creative, out of this world designs, like really creative stuff. But the way South Africans comment on her videos is crazy. And the comments really show that the majority of South Africans just don't get it. They don't get it. When Nadia Tojal does it, it's weird. It's crazy. It's, you need help. Let's call Vescopies. But when Balenciaga does it, when it's on the runway, suddenly it's avant-garde, it's fashion forward, it's Afrofuturistic. You guys are such one-track minded people. It's crazy. And I saw someone comment on her post that people will probably be screaming no DNA, just RSA when she makes it big, when she's working with big fashion designers overseas. And I'm like, that's exactly how it is. First they laugh, then they copy. Like, if you're not wearing a baddie outfit from Shein, you're not considered fashionable in South Africa. If you're not wearing smart casual, looking like old money or rich auntie aesthetic, you're just not fashionable. And that's why everyone's Instagram feeds look the same. It's the same minimalistic aesthetic because there's a proven formula. There's a proven formula to blowing up on Instagram. Minimalism. Just dress like a rich auntie, dress like old money, minimalist aesthetic, and you got it. You're gonna blow. Because that's what the people want.
I really love it when you see someone and they have like a specific style or a specific aesthetic. And I don't mean it in the way that they wear things or put together pieces that like match a specific aesthetic or match a specific vibe. It's like those pieces and those things that they like to wear or just they like to just have. So it can be things in their house, it can be stationery that they use, it can be accessories, it can be things that they wear. It all just fits one vibe, and it's not because they are specifically curating themselves to fit this vibe or to match this aesthetic, but because it's genuinely things that they like and they care about. And you can always tell. I think it's so cool because, I don't know, it's cool to see someone that has an identifiable style, not in the sense that you can tell what it is, but you can sort of see something random and know that, oh, that person would like this thing. Even if you don't know them on a personal level, you can kind of tell what they're into or like what their vibe is. I don't really know if I'm making any sense, but I just love it when I see a person that just has like an entire vibe, like everything about them matches the vibe, and it genuinely is just an extension of their personality and who they are. Yeah, I don't know, I just really like that.
South Africans hate authenticity, or at least pick and choose who gets to be. Let's talk about it. We're constantly preaching or constantly complaining how everybody looks the same, how every influencer speaks the same, how everybody is just the same person in a different font. Yet the moment somebody talks differently, dresses differently, or even shows a slight bit of authenticity or just a little bit of non-conformity, we're quick to say things like, is this how you talk every day? Is this how you think every day? Sisi, kaneni lento yakho? There are so many examples of this happening in real time. We're seeing it happen with Toya DeLazy. People did it to Moonchild Sanelli. And recently there's another video of these two goth girls on TikTok. They made a video hugging each other, saying that they've two South African goth girls who found themselves. And the comments were saying things like, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus. Or I'm just so scared. Just really vile comments. That's not us protecting authenticity. That's us policing it. So when this rhetoric becomes normal, becomes something that we're used to seeing all the time without batting an eye, and with all the young impressionable people on this app, we start to learn pretty quickly that daring to be different or trying something new comes with social punishment. And I don't think people realize how dangerous something as small as, making silly comments online about someone can really get. Essentially, it tells people who are already aggressive and hostile that it's okay to attack people who threaten their sense of normal. It reinforces the idea that being different is wrong and that conforming is acceptable. These little comments and these little remarks that have us kikiing in the comments that we think are harmless, it's actually not harmless. It's training us to police differences, and that can escalate beyond social media and casual criticism. And as South Africans, we should know better about policing differences given our history. We should know better. So I guess I'm just curious, when did authenticity start meaning that we all need to stay the same? And do we really want originality, or do we really just want familiarity?
People choosing to dress differently is not harming anyone, especially in the comfort of their own homes, in the comfort of their own safe spaces and creative spaces. Here is the nuance in this conversation. I am very aware of what type of country we're in. I'm very aware of South Africa, and I am aware that certain outfits, certain aesthetics can grab a lot of negative and even potentially dangerous attention in our country, because already people think if you dress gothic, they think you are satanic. And that is further from the truth. Being gothic is like an aesthetic, like any other clothing choice, whether you choose to be a pantsula, a skotane, you choose to be the clean girl aesthetic, you choose to be the trad wife aesthetic. It's just a form of self-expression. It's a form of clothing style. It's just another way for people to express their individuality, express themselves. There's an association of Black clothing, Gothic clothing with some form of darkness or evil. And I understand why people think that way, but I want people to actually open their minds to the fact that not everyone wants to dress like how you do. Not everyone who looks different from you means that that person is inherently evil. You don't know what is inside someone's heart. You do not know their religious background. You don't know what type of relationship they have with God or religion. You do not know. You're just another human being assuming someone based on just an aesthetic. And I understand we can't control how people perceive us all the time. People will judge you based on what you're wearing. My complexity in this conversation is this. If you're an individual who is creative, artistic, gothic, the unfortunate reality is there are certain environments where self-expression has to be toned down. Your gothic aesthetic, your whatever aesthetic has to be toned down in certain environments. That is just the reality of how life is. For example, let me make an example with certain environments and creativity. Clothing is part of creativity. How you dress, how you express yourself is part of creativity. Singing is part of creativity. There's certain spaces where you have to contain your creativity, your artistic expression. And I know people will say creativity, allow it to flow. It's like water. But like water, it sometimes needs a container. Let me make an example of singing. There's certain environments where you won't sing. I know it's a ridiculous example, but there's certain environments that you are not allowed to sing, like a library. You can't sing in a library. You have to be silent. So the same thing, school, work, in a church, in a formal environment, there's a culture of uniformity in there. There's a culture that you have to kind of tone down and be uniform and look like everyone else. That is the reality that as a creative person, it's beautiful. I love creativity. I love us expressing ourselves. I love expressing myself through creativity. But I know that there are spaces that are not safe for my creativity or for me to dress a certain way. However, there's also this beautiful thing about subcultures is that there are spaces for it, like creative spaces in the comfort of your own home. You won't tell me how to dress in the comfort of my own home. I'm allowed to express myself in the comfort of my own home. A goth person, an alternative person, is allowed to express themselves, especially in those spaces, like at home, at an art or creative event, in clubs, in social settings. The nice thing about South Africa is that we have beautiful environments where you can find people who share the same creativity with you, people who are part of the same subculture. And I understand it sounds like I am limiting people, that I'm telling people don't be gothic or don't be alternative. That is not what I'm saying. I love creativity. I love people being authentic to the things that they enjoy, whether you're anime, whether you want to be Harajuku. I love those things. But I'm also aware that we live in the real world as well. There are certain spaces where we do have to tone it down, like at school, at church, at work, at certain working environments, in religious spaces. There are spaces for our creativity to flourish, but there's also spaces where we do have to be uniform. The problem that I have in South Africa is that as soon as a person expresses themselves and is not harming anyone, it's a problem. As soon as a person is an individual and decides to do something a little different, I remember I used to get a few comments on my eye contacts, which are actually prescription, but because they are color contacts, some people had a problem with that. It's tiny little details that irritate people. And I get that. I get that some people are not comfortable with certain aesthetics. I get it. If you do not like something, you can just scroll past it. You can just not entertain it. It's not something you like, so do not entertain it. Ignore it. You don't like a certain aesthetic. I don't like ikavela, so I'm not going to go around looking for kavelas online and commenting negatively on people who are wearing ikavela. But we see it with the alternative community, the goth community. People have so many negative things to say. If you do not like how they are dressed, there's no need to go to the comment section and leave rude comments. Those comments create a culture where people will assume that these individuals are dangerous, and that would potentially put them in harm. When you vilify people and say people, you don't even know these people, they haven't done anything to you, and you create them into this evil caricature, some people will think that those people are satanic. Those people should be eliminated. Some people are that crazy. We know how violent crime is in the country. I understand you do not like a certain aesthetic. There are certain aesthetics I don't like. I understand you don't like certain clothing, certain music, but that is the beauty of being human. That is the beauty of nature. What do I mean? In nature, if you look at nature, there's beautiful and different animals in nature. There's beautiful and different flowers in nature. Even us as human beings, we look different. We are all different races. We all have different hair textures, different skin tone. Nature is diverse. Nature is about different, and it is creative. It is different. It is colorful. So I enjoy when I see people living and creating and being creative, because nature itself is a creative force. Nature itself is not uniform. Nature is beautiful. Nature is ugly sometimes, but nature is diverse. So when I see people expressing themselves differently, obviously within the safe parameters, in certain environments where it is a safe space to express yourself, I love it. And there's one thing I also don't want us to ignore. As a creative person, as an alternative person, there are limits to certain things. I don't advocate for people showing their private parts in public. Where you are dressed and your private parts, your butt cheeks are hanging out, I have an issue with that. That for me it's not self-expression. I have an issue. I love creativity, but there's also should be limits. Like I said, creativity is like water, but water needs a container. There's containers for your creativity, there's spaces, and there's limits. As a creative person, there's something I also find in the liberal communities that I sometimes have an issue with, and that is dressing in a way that reveals your private area, your private parts. I do not agree with that. I think there should be limits to self-expression. I have an issue with people you're literally being naked, or you're wearing something completely see-through that everyone can see your underwear. That is not creative for me. There should be limits to how we choose to present ourselves. And in the right environments, there are environments for us to express our creativity. That is the complexity. It's the fact that even us as creatives, as people who like alternative style, as an alternative person in the country, there should be spaces where you are allowed to express yourself differently. But there's also spaces where we have to understand that social conformity is the rule. You have to abide by those rules. But there's also an environment where you can flourish and actually just express yourself. I know it sounds unfair, especially when you think, I'm just being myself. I'm just expressing myself. But reality is life has certain boundaries that we have to abide by. And I understand you want to be going against the status quo. Beautiful. I love creativity. I like authenticity. I like seeing that. But we also have to be aware of safety. We also have to be aware that there's certain environments where we might not be safe. You might not be safe to do certain things, where there is a social contract in how you're supposed to appear. Even at school, we wear school uniform. That is the social contract that If you're in a school, you wear school uniform. You don't diverge from the norm. And then there's creative spaces. I think creative people should be allowed to have those creative spaces where they're allowed to express themselves. And social media is one of those things that allow people to do that, which is absolutely beautiful. I love seeing something different, something that shows me that South Africans can also be different. We can also express ourselves differently, especially when you think about the fact that these people are not harming anyone. They are not harming anyone. They're just wearing a certain aesthetic that maybe you do not like, but they like it. But also there should be containers for creativity as well, so that there's balance. Life requires balance. But I want to hear your opinions. What do you think? Do you think in South Africa being different, dressing differently is something that alienates you from people and creates you into a social pariah, or you just want to share your opinion on this? If you got to the end of this video, leave a red heart emoji in the comment section, and thank you for watching, darling. Bye bye.